So, welcome everyone. It's good to see you. Now, today's topic is relating to ourselves. And let's maybe first just really have a look at what that means in a relative way. We all have a relationship with ourselves. Most of us are looking at ourselves in a certain way, perceiving ourselves in a certain way, talking to ourselves, maybe even telling ourselves stories, going through various thoughts throughout the day. We're doing things to our body. We're washing ourselves in the morning. We're brushing our own teeth. We're looking after ourselves. We might discipline ourselves, manage ourselves, giving ourselves structure and so forth. So there's many, many ways of relating to ourselves. We might be angry at ourselves or happy about ourselves. Maybe you have achieved something that you set out to do a long time ago and you finally did it, so you feel happy about it. You might criticize yourself, the way you do things. You might even be scared of yourself. So most people in this world are doing that, unless you are already quite advanced on the spiritual path, then this kind of slowly comes to an end. That way of relating to yourself. There really aren't two of us. So there is not me and then the me that I relate to. So the further you advance on the path, the more you will come to see that, the more these kind of relationships to ourselves come to an end. But in the beginning and in the middle of that path, it is very, very important to relate to ourselves properly. Since we're all doing it anyways, it's important to do it the right way. If you're relating to yourself in the right way, when I use the word right here, I mean that it gives rise to happiness, both in the present and in the future, long and short term. If you're relating to yourself in the wrong way, then it gives rise to suffering, right? Both in the present and in the future. So when I say relating to ourselves, then first of all we need to know what does that mean. If I relate to myself, do I relate to something that's me? What do I mean when I say me? Is there something in there that I'm relating to that's a me, that if the doctor would open the body, it would find a little me that I've been relating to all the way? But it's much more kind of like that we are relating to parts and aspects of ourselves. Let's say, for example, feelings. You could relate to the way you feel, or you could relate to the way you think. You could relate to what you do, to your actions, right? And how could you relate to them? You can relate to them based on aversion. You can dislike whatever goes on inside of yourself or around you. You can dislike your body, you can dislike your mind, you can dislike your emotional being. Or you can have a sense of attraction. Maybe you like your body, you like your mind, maybe you like your emotions. Okay, so these are two possible ways of relating to aspects of ourselves. So either like or dislike. Another way possibly to relate to ourselves would be kind of neutral. Neither liking it nor disliking it. You just simply see that it's there. When you're liking something, you try to keep it. You try to enhance it, usually. And when you're disliking something, you try to push it away. try to get rid of it. So in the case of a feeling, for example, you might experience a certain emotion, let's say sadness or anger, happiness, or whatever it is. Let's say sadness. So you're experiencing sadness, and the usual instinct is then to push it away, right? So the usual instinct is, how can I fix this? I need to get rid of it, right? I need to somehow surgically remove it. That is based on aversion. We dislike sadness. We don't want to feel this feeling, so we push against it. And as the old saying goes, what you resist persists. Right? So the sadness kind of stays in place, or it might kind of give in and let you push it away, but then comes back at a later time. You might suppress it, you might distract yourself away from it, but eventually it will come back to you, asking you once more to have a look at it, to pay attention to it. Right? Our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our inner, outer world, they're basically asking for attention. So your emotions, whatever you feel, here in that case sadness, is asking for your attention. It's asking you to look very clearly. What is really going on there? And it also asks you a hidden question. How are you really relating to it? And there are two supreme ways of relating to our emotions, our thoughts, and our body. This is with kindness and compassion. So, for example, you could look at yourself and say, may I be happy, may I be at ease, may I be safe, may I be well. That is kindness. You're wishing yourself well. Not just in word, not just saying it in your head, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be well, but actually feeling that towards yourself. May I be truly happy, may I be truly well, may I be at ease. And if you really wish yourself well, then that feels very good. This comes with a certain kind of happiness and ease. So this would be an appropriate response to when you're encountering something nice inside of yourself. Can you enjoy it? Can you relax? Can you wish yourself more of that experience? Now, what do you do when there's suffering inside of yourself, like in our example with the sadness? Well, then, first you need to approach it with compassion. You need to understand, first of all, that what you are feeling, what you're experiencing, it is normal. Well, of course you're experiencing sadness. Say if someone that you love very much has passed away, or you're experiencing difficult breakup or something like that. Of course you're sad. It's normal, right? Who would not be sad? Yes. Can you allow yourself to feel something that is perfectly normal in the human realm? The emotion of fear, the emotion of sadness, the emotion of anger, they're all obviously there. Are they not? So instead of trying to push them away, get rid of them, can you understand them? And so compassion asks you not just directly to understand them. In order to understand something, you have to give it some space to be there, first of all. So you have to let go of pushing it away, accepting it. And that's again back to the nature of kindness. Giving it some space, allowing it to be there, actually. That is very kind. If you're allowing your sadness to be there, you're already being kind to it. You're telling it, dear sadness, welcome. Every human being experiences sadness. We all experience it at some point. And it's perfectly okay. It's normal. So when sadness comes and visits you, can you be a nice host? Give it a smile, Let it do its thing a little bit, give it some space. It won't hurt you or harm you or overwhelm you, I promise you that. It can only do that if you're fighting it. Then it can overwhelm you, it can hurt you, it can harm you. Only if you're resisting it. That's what's really the problem actually in the whole scenario. It is our resistance to feeling. We don't want to feel. We're very partial when it comes to feeling. We want to feel the happy stuff, but we don't want to feel the unhappy stuff. And most of the growth is hidden in the unhappy stuff. These are all the things that we have discarded, the kind of neglected aspects of ourselves. And occasionally life gives you opportunities where these feelings, these emotions are surfacing. And then you can ask yourself, so, well, how am I relating to this? And instead of correcting yourself, let's say you're relating to your sadness in a way that is pushy, and then you see that and then you criticize that. Oh, I'm too pushy. I shouldn't be pushy. I should be happy and kind to my sadness. I should smile at my sadness. Tobi said to welcome my sadness, so I need to try not to welcome my sadness, even though I'm not feeling like that. So that would be another problem, creating another problem, another layer of problem. Instead, just simply, what does it mean to give it space? It means to see how you are relating to it, without judging it, without changing it at first, just seeing it. I'm pushing against my sadness. That's what I'm doing right now. Let's see how that is like. How is it like to push against my emotion? How does that feel? If I'm trying not to feel it, how is that? What's the experience like to resist something? Right? Is that pleasant or is that unpleasant? And it's pretty unpleasant. So if you're resisting something, it's highly unpleasant. The more you resist, the worse it gets.
It's a lot more exhausting.
It is exhausting, yes. It costs energy. You're paying a price for resisting. You're losing a lot of energy. It all goes down the drain because in the end, what you are resisting cannot really be resisted. It's like trying to resist a river while standing in it. The river wins. Yes. And you're going to lose a lot of energy in the process of standing in that river, trying to somehow manage it. The river wins every single time. So relating to the river like this is only making you more exhausted. So instead, but that doesn't happen because you suddenly decide, oh no, okay, because Tobi said I should, or because another teacher said that, then I should now just accept my sadness. Wrong. If you're going from I should, you're doing anything but accepting. It comes from this notion of now I should be different. But I'm encouraging you to see, well, how is it? How is it? Not even doing anything to it. Well, if you're resisting your sadness, how is that? Not even in a sarcastic, cynical way, like how is it to resist, but actually see how is it. You got to take your time for that. This is one problem in these times that people don't really take the time to look. And there's so many opportunities to keep yourself busy, not looking, that many people even straight go back to work. They had something bad happen in their family, like someone that they love very much passed away, and they go right back to work. And many, they say, I welcome that. I welcome that. It's nice. I have to do something. I'm distracted. I don't have to think about the problems that I have. but they're bottling it up. It's still there. And for some people I meet at our retreats, even after 20 years, so there's old grief in them, and it suddenly comes up. It's incredible. It's almost like stored in the muscles or something. I don't know. Sometimes you just tell them to breathe deeply enough and they break apart, because they're moving muscles that they're usually not moving. And it's where all the tension sits. It's where all the emotion sits. Emotion is very physical. And when you're not wanting something, you contract physically around it. If you do that often enough, the contraction becomes a habitual contraction, and eventually just a hard place in your body. So it's very important to approach yourself very gently, giving things space, and then includes your reactions to the way you feel or you think. Give that space too. It's all right to react to it with fear. You might not want it, you might dislike it, you might fight against it, but that's okay. How is that like to fight against something? This is an invitation for you to study yourself, to see how does the mind actually work? How am I going into relationship to this? And then gradually, so you're already being kind now, because you're allowing the processes that are happening inside of you just to be visible there. You're giving them some space. It's almost like when you're fighting with someone and all of a sudden you're realizing, wow, this is leading us nowhere. We're both yelling at each other. Okay, let me listen now. So you make a decision to listen to your wife or your husband or your friend. That's already changing things. Now you're already starting to listen. So it's already happening. The fight might still go on, but at least now there's a positive influence already. You already do something a bit more clever. You start to listen. And that's exactly what we do with ourselves too. First there's an argument, the sadness comes up, then I argue against it. Then the sadness comes up again, it comes stronger, I argue a bit more against it. Now all of a sudden you decide, okay, I'm going to listen to it for a little while. I'm going to just have a look at it. How is it like?
It softens the emotion.
Correct, yeah, it softens the emotion. And the better you are getting at this, at gently receiving something and allowing it some space to be, the faster it dissolves. That, I would say, is processing something, working through something. Like some people think, I have to be sad and angry and punch your back to process an emotion. No, that strengthens the emotion actually. What you need to do to process the emotion is to see it fully, see it very clearly. If you can see it very clearly, it dissolves right there. That's processing it. There's no more need for it to give you resistance, to fight against you. There's no more need for it because you're now fully accepting it. It's okay, it's there. It's normal. And you relax around it, and the emotion relaxes. That's a healing. It might still come back, but less strong, but later. Then you do the same. It needs to be seen again. Okay, look. It's like a child showing you a picture that's just painted. And it just wants to be seen. And if you pay attention, then there is a transformation that can happen through the negative emotions that you're experiencing. There can be an immense transformation happening. Like, for example, if you're experiencing tremendous fear, if you have a fear problem, at nighttime you're really worried about something, you can't sleep because you're so scared of something that might happen to you. Maybe you had a traumatic event, you're scared of death, or you've been just diagnosed a heavy disease or something. So there's fear, and the fear will be super heavy. If you can relax through that, if you can give space to that, It means, one, that you have a significant amount of space already. You're very spacious. You're already very relaxed. You are not as collidable as you were before. There's a beautiful story of the Buddha actually sitting with one of his disciples in a hut. And it must have been in the morning hours or so. I'm just fantasizing a little bit, so just giving you a bit of an atmosphere here. So he's sitting in the morning hours with one of his disciples, and they're meditating together. And after the meditation is done, the Buddha asks his disciple this question: do you see the sun shining into the hut? And the disciple turns around and sees the sun coming in through the window. And the Buddha asks, well, where does the sun hit? And it hits the opposite wall. And so the student says, well, it hits the opposite wall. And the Buddha says, well, and if there was no wall, where would it hit? The disciple says, it would hit the floor. The Buddha says, if there was no floor, where would it hit? And the disciple already gets the point, and he says, well, it wouldn't hit. It wouldn't hit. So let's say the rays of sunlight are your sadness, your thoughts, your fear, even your body. What do they collide with? What is your fear? What is your sadness? What are your thoughts colliding with? They must be colliding with something. There's something that does not want them, or there is something that wants more of them. So the sadness comes up. What does it crash into? And we find it's me. There's the sadness, and here's me. And I have an agenda. I don't want to feel this. Now, what if that me wasn't there? Where would the sadness hit? Where would the anger hit? It wouldn't hit. There would just be space, right? Can you offend space? Damn stupid space. Does the space worry about that? Is it offendable? Does it take offense? Can you spit in the face of space? You can't. There's nothing you can do. You can't kick it. You can't push it away. You can't do anything to it. So if you are there as space itself, none of the emotions or thoughts are colliding with anything. They have space. They are free. So in Tibetan Buddhism, we very often say, not the sentence, may I be free from my fear and my anger and so forth, but it's more, may I liberate these things. May I liberate my sadness. May I liberate my fear. May I liberate my mind. Free your mind. What does that really mean? It means you're not offering anything to collide with it anymore. Then it is free. And when it is free, it heals. Everything can heal. Everything can balance itself out. Because there's nothing that's messing around with experiences anymore. There are just experiences, and they naturally happen. To all of us anyways. But none of those experiences are personal. Your fear is not coming to get you. Your sadness is not coming to get you. There is just a natural expression in the mind of an emotion. And that's totally all right. And the emotion can be totally free. And it doesn't have to be suppressed or expressed in any way. So that is the ultimate way of coming to an end of relating to something. There is just that. It's not personal, it's not me, it's not mine. No problem. Nobody having a problem there. There's nobody having a problem with sadness, fear, anger. Nobody holding on to anything either. So nature can freely express herself through your being. And there's nothing in the way, nothing messing with it, nothing distorting it. Just a very natural expression of the way it is. Truth. And nobody is at war with truth. Nobody relates to truth. You are that truth. But until you can see that, it is very important to relate in a nice way to your feelings and your thoughts and so forth. Be kind to them. Give them some space. That's the beginning. See them clearly. Honor them. Respect them. This is your life, isn't it? You're living your life. It's the ride that so many people talk about, right? Well, life is a ride. You're on it right now. Can you honor it? Can you be with it fully? Or do you try to escape it? Just be there. Learn from it. Everything comes to teach you a lesson. It comes to show you something about you. It just shows you where you resist. It shows you where you're in conflict with truth, with the way it is. And it gives you a chance to soften up, to open your heart. So that's enough romantic stuff. That's all that comes to mind. I hope it was helpful in some way. Are there any questions?